If you were talking to a group of people who didn't know you at all, what would you do? What would you say?
I would introduce myself as Cakes, basically, yeah. He only want me for my good. He only want me for my goody goodies. Well, I'm a full-time student. Yeah, that's kind of boring, but I go to school. I'm about to graduate. And on my downtime, I rap and I make music and perform at bars and clubs. You trying to smash me like a Harlem jump skeezy. Caught him in a coupe blast and touch me.
What were you doing?
Nothing.
Whoa. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa.
For me, it is accessibility. I think that's what makes film so powerful. It's a medium that everyone enjoys. There's like anybody in the world that's ever seen a film likes movies.
I think film has the ability to distill a very complicated topic or issue into something that is, like she said, easily accessible for a number of audiences across, all sorts of cultural divides, generational divides. So yeah, it's a medium that's super powerful because it's based in images, and so images are pretty direct and simple and straightforward, no matter how complicated the underlying theme or story.
I saw this film when I was in graduate school. Well, I was an undergrad. It was, I can't even remember the name. I need to find the name of it, but it's actually what led me to change my direction, because I was a print journalism major, and the lady she came to our class and she showed the film to us, and it was just so powerful, and she was so powerful. The film was actually about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And yeah, and so that's when the next month started applying to graduate school for a documentary film.
There's so many moments with film that were so impactful, but I want to go back to probably the earliest. My father showed my brother and I Spike Lee's Mo Better Blues when we were really young, probably even a little too young. I think I may have been 8, which is probably problematic. But it was beautiful. I remember thinking, wow, first of all, there were all of these really gorgeous Black people on screen, and they were artists, musicians, and Spike had shot everyone under these really beautiful colors. They're blue, and then they're red, and then they're purple. And I just remember being magnetized to the screen a bit. So much so that my grandma, she was visiting as well, and she was like, what are y'all watching? This is probably, not a good idea, but I didn't care. It was really awesome. I just remember thinking, I could probably do this, or I could see myself in this in some way. My artistic influences run the gamut of all of the various mediums. So I'm really inspired by music. I'm obsessed with Nina Simone, obsessed. I think she is amazing. She used her art for, a very powerful reason, and she connected with people. And she was very emotionally involved in what she was doing. I also really love Alice Coltrane as a musician. And for film, I'm very inspired by people like Julie Dash, Spike Lee, of course, Charles Burnett, and a number of visual artists too. I love Kerry James Marshall. He's one of my favorite painters. I love the works of Romeo Bearden. I love the abstract sculptures of Simone Lee. So I'm really kind of pulling from all of these various sources and having them influence the work that I do.
I guess for film would be Agnes Varda, her documentaries in recent years, The Gleaners and I. It's a big influence, because I just love the way she combines, it's commercial, it's more accessible, and it's funny, and she also plays with the medium, and it's also political. Toni Morrison is a storyteller, is a writer, and Spike Lee, of course. Yeah, he's paved the way for Black indie film more than I think anybody has. I've always wanted to be a storyteller. I've always wanted to tell stories. And I've always loved film. And our whole family is like a big movie family. That's just like, as a family, we're always going to the movies. And both my parents are like obsessed with film in different ways. Like my mom's into the documentary and more indie films, and my dad's into the action, superhero stuff. But, so yeah, so I've had like both educations growing up. So I never connected though, storytelling and film until that moment when I was in the classroom and this lady came and showed her film when I was in undergrad. It was like always felt like a pipe dream, right, to be a filmmaker. I didn't know any filmmakers growing up. I wasn't exposed to it as a medium in high school or college, nothing. We didn't have a film program. So yeah, I was sort of a late bloomer when it comes to that.
Yeah, I was a late bloomer too. But I've always been really, really moved by stories. I used to write stories as a little girl. But initially I was an actress. I trained in the theater for a number of years, from 12 years old to about 22. And in undergrad, that's when it clicked, like, oh, I don't necessarily want to be all the time in front of the camera, because I often felt, a lot of the roles that I was going out for, they were distorted. They felt not true to life, or not true to my very real lived experiences as a Black woman. And then I began to think about, well, what if I were in charge of the story, right? I can do this, I can tell the story. I can tell my story actually better than anyone else. So undergrad is when it clicked for me that I could actually have some sort of agency in that creative process.
That's a good question.
That's a very good question.
Why do you make films?
I feel like we're always thinking about this, right? And talking about this.
I think for me, like, I don't know what else I could do. I can't imagine doing anything else right now. Because I keep saying, like, yeah, I was in print journalism. I was about to graduate. And I was like, I can't be a journalist. I just can't do it. So it brought me to film. It kind of forced me into film, because I was like, I can't imagine doing that every day, right? Film just seemed, like, I always wanted to tell stories, and I always wanted to communicate something to people, and just film seemed like the most natural way to do it for me. So I guess because I don't know what else to do.
Yeah, I think, I have a lot to say. And I think film is one of the more, direct ways in which to get what you have to say out to who you're talking to. And I think it's just such a pivotal time right now for people who have things that they want to get off their chest, or who want to kind of blast their message out there. And film is perfect for that. And I think I'm just speaking to people who have the shared lived experiences as me. So a lot of the stories that I tell are rooted in, Black life, the complexities of Black life, the complexities of Black love, whether it's, something very negative or something very positive, be it the pathology or the success. So I'm really just interested in showing the nuanced complexity of who we are and reflecting that back to us. So that we can understand that we are these myriad of things, not this monolithic, distortion.
I would say to a young filmmaker, which is really what I would say to myself like 3 years ago, right? To just do the work. There's really no way around it. It's like, yeah, you have to make films. That's the only way. Yeah, and over again, it's the only way to get better as an artist. It's the only way to grow as an artist, not only for yourself, like personally to get better at your art, but also to, grow your network, find collaborators, and be able to do cool things like this, to come to this university and screen your film, is just to do the work. And that's, the only path. Like, working for other filmmakers is great, finding mentors is great, but at the end of the day, you need work to show.
There's no way around it, you have to work. I think we romanticize this a lot. Oh, I want to be a filmmaker. Oh, I want to be an artist. Oh, I want to create things. You have to work over and over again. There's no, there's no romantic shit about it. There's no, you have to do the work. And I was reading this Kevin Jerome Everson interview, and he talks about it. Like, he's like, look, you need to get up and you need to make a film. You need to make some art repeatedly, over and over again. That is the only way you'll get better. Whether anyone tells you no, whether you have the money or not, whether you're just doing it by yourself. I remember my first film was an 8mm film in undergrad, and I had my friend I was trying to do a tracking shot on a, a skateboard. My friend is pushing me back, pulling me back as I film on a tracking shot. You have to do what you have to do, but you have to get it done, and then you need to get it out there.
Yeah.
You need to get it out there, so put it on the internet.
Yeah, getting it out there is important too. Yeah, exhibiting as much as possible as well. Like, I think when I started making films, that was the disconnect for me, was like, where do I show it to? I didn't think it was good enough, I guess, to show it to places. But there are festivals that are meant for students, for first-time filmmakers. So it's like any way you can show it also is really important, as well as doing the work. Yeah.
I'm really hoping to shift people's perceptions, these very common, kind of strongly held ideas of what we think about other people, particularly people who are different from us, but also to think about themselves. Like I'm engaged in a really personal film right now. It's about myself and my family. And in some ways, I'm the sacrificial lamb. I'm telling a lot of my personal business. I'm revealing a lot of my intimate life. But it's not just for me. It's for you to think about your intimate life. It's for you to have a very visceral, emotional reaction and galvanize you for some sort of change, right? Art is supposed to shake you up a bit, to disrupt you, to disturb you a bit. So that's definitely at the forefront of my mind when I'm creating a lot of my work.
My whole start was for social issue, was to create change, right? Or even just to get people thinking about issues that they don't normally think about. And so marginalized people are always at the center of all the films that I've done. Like the first film I did was about a homeless man in Miami. And the second film I did was about migrants from Mexico. So yeah, it's always about a marginalized group or an oppressed group in some way. And so I guess that's what drives me, just to, I don't want to say humanize, because I don't know, I just don't like that.
Because they're already human.
Because they're already human, yeah. But at least to add more layer to their story than it's normally shown, and not make it this whole, like, in Spanish I say pobrecita, right? It's like, oh, poor me story or what have you, but give them some agency. And I hate to say give the voice to the voiceless.
Because we're not doing that.
Yeah,
right?
It's really just, I'm just interested in stories about people that have been at the outskirts of society, right? And so
Centering them.
yeah, and centering their story for once, because they're usually, just like buttressing the white male character or what have you. So that's, and also like in regards to documentary, even when they're at the center of the story, it is always like framed around, how can we help these people, So that's what I'm trying to not do. Yeah, I do think it's important to have a good cinema and a good film program. Because like I was saying, for myself personally, I wasn't exposed to film I wasn't exposed to filmmakers. I wasn't exposed to film as a viable medium, right? And when you actually meet filmmakers, when you actually get to hear them talk about their work and talk about their trajectory, it demystifies the whole process for you. And so then it's suddenly like, okay, maybe this is something that you could do personally, if that's something that you're interested, right? But if certain people aren't even exposed to it, then they'll never know what they can do. So I do think it's important, for every university to have something like that. So you're giving these young people an opportunity to see something that maybe they want to do, or even just to get a deeper education about film, because film is so pervasive in our culture, especially nowadays, right? Everyone watches movies. So as an institution that, is educating youth, then you should be providing that opportunity for students to learn more about the thing that they're exposed to so much. So even for that,
I agree. I think it's absolutely imperative, particularly for educational institutions, to have, the access and the facilities, not just the theater, but the films and the instructors, right, who are going to be teaching the youth that, this is a tool, a very powerful tool that when used correctly can affect, enormous change. Also, the very long tradition the history, the canon of, you know, not just American film, but film from all over the world, film that centers women, film that centers, you know, quote unquote marginalized communities, all of these sorts of cinemas, I mean, all of these sorts of stories can be disseminated. And I think that, you know, just kind of gives a depth of perception for the viewer.